daughters, sisters, and wives. He says they're gonna change our lives. He says be women, be girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, founder of She Angel Investors and co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, both designed, of course, to help fund women. And speaking of funding women and amazing entrepreneurs, today we have on a very special guest. She left corporate America, Silicon Valley, to start her own business. She is an author, a guest speaker, and a TEDx speaker. I'm so proud to welcome Reena Vokoun. Hi, Reena.
Hi, Catherine. Thanks for having me today.
You know, I just love your story because I think there's a lot of people out there that are in corporate America who would love to start their own business, but they don't know how. And I want to talk about your transition. I also want to talk about how you were feeling burnt out, which how many women identify with that, and that you went on a path of wellness, health and wellness, and you attribute success of a woman's business by how healthy and well she is. And I want to talk about that. That's what your book's about. That's what your TED Talk is about. That's what your guest speaking is about. And it's something you're very passionate about. So I do want to talk about how every female entrepreneur out there has to focus on health and wellness.
Yes. I mean, honestly, I really think that wellness is the helm of it all. And I think, as you mentioned, a lot of women have experienced burnout in different ways, whether they already have their own businesses, whether they do work for someone else in corporate America or some other profession, whether they have children or not. We all have a tendency in different stages of our lives to put ourselves last and to put all of the other daily obligations in front of any of our own needs. And that can result in burnout. It happened to me. It is one of the reasons why I did leave corporate America, you know, being a working mom of two kids, a dual career couple with my husband and I both working in tech in Silicon Valley. Those are demanding jobs and careers involving travel and, you know, client facing roles and deadlines and so much pressure and stress. And when you also, you know, in my case, want to be a hands-on parent and you have two young children, trying to make it work can be difficult. And I think over the course of this last year with the pandemic, the challenges that we as women and as humans faced multiplied, right? It's tenfold the number of challenges in what we've been experiencing with COVID-19 and so many other issues. And so I think that if we can take a step back and focus on how are we feeling both mentally and physically? You know, what are the things that are causing stress and anxiety in our lives? And what are the things that we need to do on a daily basis to care for ourselves? It's really just going back to our basic needs of healthy and nutritious foods, sleep, moving our body every day, getting exercise, being able to manage our stress in healthy and productive ways. For me, luckily, these were all things that were a part of my life way before I ever started Passion Fit, way before I ever, experienced the burnout that I did almost, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And what's ironic, and I talk about this in my book, The Wellness Empowered Woman, just the fact that I even lost sight of those tools. You know, I've been a health and wellness enthusiast, a professional, and an advocate for my entire adult and even young teen life, with playing sports and doing dance and, getting certifications in fitness and nutrition and mindfulness and all these other things. But I lost sight of it because I got caught up in the daily grind that many women do.
I was going to say, you are not the first woman to say that, I want to talk about that transition, because how were you feeling when you were working in Silicon Valley and feeling burnt out? I know you'd shared like that you felt like you weren't living up to anybody's expectations, your own, as a mother, as a worker. And I think it's an important conversation that we're having today, because in the past year, so many women have had to leave corporate America because of feeling this burnout that you're talking about, especially with the added pandemic and all the responsibilities that pretty much fell on the moms, on the mothers. And so let's talk about how people can deal with that in the midst of this, how your book, The Wellness Empowered Woman, can help other women to climb out of this hole of feeling burnt out and either deal with working in corporate America or do what you did and transfer into entrepreneurship, which may be a great solution for many women because it gives them the freedom to create their own day. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship is definitely challenging in its own right, but you do have more control over your schedule, over how you manage your personal and professional life, because you don't have to adhere to certain corporate policies or standards or what your manager wants. So yes, I do believe that it can be achieved when you do have your own business.
I think you're right. And so how did you make that transition? Like when you were in corporate America, here you're at this high profile job that people would just, I'm sure, kill to have. What made you say, you know what, I'm going to leave this and go start a business about something I'm passionate about? What was that aha moment?
Yeah, I want to start off by saying I loved my job at Google. There was nothing wrong with the job. I was growing. I had a great management team, a great team of colleagues, interesting clients. I was working in the publishing and entertainment industries, in digital media. So yes, it is on the outside a job that a lot of people would love to have, and I did love having it. So I think for me, that's where the conflict was. I did have this inner conflict because I did have this great job, which I was so grateful for. But at the same time, I knew that what it required of me and what I required of myself, because I am a recovering perfectionist, like many women are. And knowing that I wanted to give that my all, but then also taking on this role of being a mother, it was two, in some ways, conflicting things. And I don't think it should be that way for other women. It shouldn't have been that way for myself. And I think as women, that's part of, as a solution, we have to come together to figure out how we can make it work. And that's challenging, gender equity challenges in the workplace. It's, kind of rethinking how the system works with corporate America. And I think the pandemic will hopefully help some of that. Because again, we've had a rough year. And I think when women are trying to do everything all under the same roof, on the one end, you think, okay, there's more flexibility because you're working from home, but then you're also dealing with making lunches and driving your kids to and from school if they're back in school, or sports practices, and handling everyone else's needs on top of your own and your work. So I think setting boundaries is really important. And for me, that's my aha moment really came from, yes, I love what I do. And yes, I'm grateful for my job, but I do want a healthier lifestyle. I've experienced burnout, and I do have this passion and this expertise. It's not just something that I enjoyed, but it's something that I've invested years of education and certifications and training in and experience. And we're actually working with clients and teaching. I was doing a lot of that on the side as a hobby anyway. So that's where I really thought maybe I can be part of that solution for women, where I can bring my professional corporate background and my love and passion for health and wellness together, and help carve out what that could look like if you're an entrepreneur. But then also for companies, I do a lot of speaking about work-life balance or work-life integration. How can we challenge companies to change their cultures to support women and working mothers? And that's kind of where I think we're at a time in history where it can happen, especially after this pandemic. And these next several months are going to be critical to really establish what the new normal is going to look like.
Absolutely. It's been a wake up call, hasn't it? And I love what you just said. I know you speak at major companies about this, integrating it into their system, because a balanced employee is a happy employee, and a happy employee helps make a profitable company. And so it really behooves these companies to address these issues, would you say, like childcare and things like that, that are being talked about finally. And it is such an important thing that's been overlooked in our country. And I'm glad you, among other people, are bringing attention to this, that there is a solution. Um, with your book, The Wellness Empowered Woman, with your TED Talk, by the way, remind me the name of it. It's so amazing.
Thank you, Catherine. Yes, we were fellow TEDx speakers that day. So my talk is called Why Wellness is the Secret to Personal and Professional Success.
I love that. Everybody should catch that TED Talk. It's wonderful. And then, of course, if they work for a big company, knowing that bringing you in as an expert in this arena could really help their company. I want to mention that too. And it is, your website is, uh, remind me,
Passionfit.com.
passionfit.com. Perfect name, passionfit.com. I love it. And that is what you're really passionate about, I know. And I want to know about that transition from burnout to feeling, um, well, and feeling emotionally and spiritually and mentally fit. That, how did you cross that chasm? And I love that you were already doing it on the side, which a lot of corporate America people will start their passion on the side and then make it into a business. So I love that you have that story.
Thank you. Yeah. I think, I really had to do some soul searching. I had to take a step back and look at, yes, what I had been doing and what I had been known for, right? This person that's in marketing and digital media and working for these big Fortune 500 companies in tech. Like, you also start to take on that identity. And sometimes it's hard to shed that identity when you've been doing it for so long and you've been successful at it. But I had to let go of that, and I had to kind of strip down to just myself and know that regardless of what I do for a living and in my career, I can add value to society. I can make an impact on the world, and I'm enough just all on my own, just being Reena Vokoun. And that took some time and some deconditioning, to get to that place. But once I did, then it was like, okay, now I can really focus on being my best self before I go out to try to help other women with that. So I went back to my roots. I'm, first generation born Indian American, and practicing yoga and meditating and, really leveraging natural, foods and things like that to improve your well-being is something that I was able to kind of turn back to. These are things that I was taught by my parents and my grandparents throughout my life. And my grandfather, one of the pivotal moments too for me when I left corporate America to start Passion Fit, and I spoke about this in my TEDx talk, is when my grandfather passed away. Just makes you realize how important life is. And that really made me also dive deep into those teachings that even came from him. About wellness and about my passion for it and how to get that back in my life. So I was able to just start, planning my days with making sure I'm meditating, making sure I'm exercising, making sure I'm journaling and really writing how I'm feeling, because I was going to make a major transition, and you wouldn't be human if you didn't have mixed feelings about it, which I did. So I really had to take that time. I needed that space to think and to breathe and to nourish myself and my family with good foods. So I did that. And then I went back to all the things I had been trained in and had been taught my whole life. And I started to, develop a framework for my company and for my clients. So that's really how I made that transition. And I will say it's not a one and done thing. It is something that you have to keep practicing daily. And, you have to remind yourself that this is a lifelong commitment. It's a healthy lifestyle that you're choosing, and things are going to come up. I mean, even in the course of my 7 years being an entrepreneur, you better believe I've had stressful times and times where I'm right on the verge of burnout again, and I have to take a step back. I think now it's different because I take very seriously what I tell my clients, what I tell companies, and I want to make sure that I'm authentically living it myself. And that integrity is so important to me. So it's good. It's a good forcing function to continue to stay with those practices so that I can practice what I preach to my clients.
Yeah, I noticed that about you. You're really good with your boundaries. Like, no, I can't do it then, but I can do it in a month. And you're good about that. A lot of people aren't. That's a gift.
Well,
Um,
it wasn't always. I had to learn.
and I know we're always all a constant work in progress. But somebody posted something the other day that you made me think of when they, sometimes people say, well, it's hard to meditate, exercise, eat right. And somebody posted, and it's hard not to also. It's harder not to eat right and not to exercise and not to meditate because life is harder when you don't do those things. So what you're really doing by implementing those things into your life is making your life easier, more beautiful, lighter, brighter. So I love your message. Your
Yeah.
book is just coming out, The Wellness Empowered Woman. I take it on Amazon and on your website.
Yes, it's launching on June 17th, and it will be available on Amazon. You can go to thewellnessempoweredwoman.com, or you could get to it from passionfit.com as well. And I will have some expanded distribution channels in the future as well. But pretty much everyone in this pandemic has been shopping on Amazon. So you can go there right away on the 17th. And I'm just really excited about this book. I've been working on it for over 2 years now. And like I said, I feel passionate about the message and how it can help women really transform their lives. And I speak from my own experiences, my own failures, my own burnout. So I'm really coming to you as somebody that understands and has been in the shoes of many women.
So this basically would be for any woman, a woman working in corporate America, an entrepreneurial woman, just a woman in general that wants to improve the quality of her life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when I work with clients, I focus on the whole person. So I'm also working with that woman's spouse or significant other, their children, them as a professional, as well as them as an individual. So a lot of the content is really to help her and all of those in her world around her and the communities and organizations that she serves. So I would almost say, men could probably benefit from some of the content as well. But yes, it is obviously specific to women and their journey, but others can benefit too.
And, I agree with you too, that it's not likely someone's going to be a successful entrepreneur or businesswoman if they're not focused on their health. And you talk in your TED Talk about the 4 pillars of health. Can we just mention those?
Absolutely. So it's mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual health. Those make up the 4 pillars that I discussed in the TEDx talk, and I also cover in my book. And they all kind of work together, right? In order to be mentally strong, we have to be physically strong. And in order to have those elements, we need to take care of our emotions, which sometimes can get overwhelming when we're stressed and burnt out. And the spirituality part of it is what gives us that center and that balance and that calming effect to really look at things from a rational perspective. So they all are interconnected. They all go hand in hand. And that's what I get into a lot of detail about, both in the book and the talk and in the work that I do with clients and organizations.
So people can hear you speak at their companies, they can hear your TED Talk, they can read your book, but people can have the opportunity to work with you one-on-one. And, I'm a big advocate for, if something in your life isn't working, go get us another party, to an outside party to help coach you in that arena. If you're not eating right, or you're not feeling connected spiritually, or you're not emotionally feeling grounded, how do you fix that? Like you can't do the same thing and expect things to change. So I love that you offer that up. And I will say about you that my first impression when I met you, you are just the most kind, good energy person. You offered all the other TED Talk people one of the beautiful stones that had beautiful words on it, like confidence and kindness. And I'm like, I love this woman. You just exude goodness. And I just think anybody would have such a wonderful opportunity to work with your beautiful energy.
Oh, I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. The feeling is mutual, Catherine. And yeah, I love working with individuals as well as groups. So I'm a personal and professional development coach and consultant. And I really do feel like that's where I can really impact people. Yes, I love to do it at scale, but to work with people one-on-one and really customize solutions for them based off of their own unique paths and journeys and challenges that they've faced really allows me to help them, in a unique and special way. And I love that part of my work. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And, one size doesn't fit all. So that customized coaching is amazing. And you also have groups, I've noticed, because I've seen group photos, like group networking, which I think is also a beautiful thing. Let's face it, our happiness is really tied to, being in a group of like-minded women.
Yes, definitely. So yeah, I've built a passion fit community over the last 7 years. And so it's both local, right now it's here in Silicon Valley, but obviously I'll be expanding it to Southern California because my family and I are moving to San Diego in a couple of weeks. But I also try to reach women all over the world, all over the country through the global online community. So I have a private Facebook group, I have a newsletter, I do wellness retreats, I do workshops, I offer fitness and dance classes as well. And lots of different events. And these events really bring women together. Obviously, over the course of the last year in the pandemic, I had to shift everything that was in person to online.
Right.
But luckily, my background in tech and digital media allowed me to do that fairly seamlessly because it was important to me to be there as a wellness resource for these women at one of the toughest times we've ever faced. So I took that very much to heart when we hit the pandemic. I thought, okay, how can I take everything I'm doing and just move it online? And that was important for my business and my community. And I'm glad that I was able to do that.
And how wonderful you could expand your community with this. I think this whole online thing has made us realize we can take whatever we're doing and have a global reach,
Exactly. Absolutely. It's just a greater way to reach more people at scale. So I'm excited that I can continue with that. And I look forward to continue, the time where we'll be able to get together in person more and more in the future as we continue to, beat this pandemic.
I love that part. I'm a hugger.
Me too. I hear you.
Well, I want to end on this note that you had mentioned one of the things to health and wellness is giving back. And I know you walk the walk and talk the talk because you were part of our She Angels Foundation membership. And I've been so grateful to have so many extraordinary women like yourself become members this year because it allows us to give female-founded nonprofits that are helping women grants. And so it's been wonderful to have that opportunity, especially during COVID, to be purposeful. And so we appreciate you being a part of that.
It's my pleasure. It's a great cause and happy to be part of it.
Thank you. So if people want to find you on social media, besides going to the website passionfit.com or looking for your book on Amazon, the Wellness Empowered Woman, how can we find you on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, so I'm on all those places, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well. And the social media handle is just PassionFit LLC.
Beautiful. Okay. And of course, everybody knows to follow us at She Angel Investors and the She Angels Foundation. I just appreciate you coming on and sharing all your knowledge and inspiration. And I'm definitely picking up the book. And I hope everybody else listening does too, because we could all use more health and wellness. Thank you so much, Reena, for being on the show. Have a beautiful week. Everybody remember to invest in her and make it a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.